I'm trying to stop a war. Why is it you seem to be pushing for one?
While Henry Cavill may be the most famous actor to have played Geralt of Rivia, he's not the first name many people will think of when discussing The Witcher. Certainly among the gaming community, Doug Cockle is considered the original and ultimate Geralt. And after having played the White Wolf across the critically acclaimed trilogy of video games, Doug now brings his unmistakable voice to Netflix's new animated movie, The Witcher: Sirens of the Deep.
I suggest you get a good night's sleep. We have a long journey ahead of us.
Doug plays a different version of Geralt in Sirens of the Deep. This is the Netflix interpretation of the character, previously played by Henry Cavill and soon to be embodied by Liam Hemsworth. But while he's not the same Geralt from the games, Doug was not asked to alter his now iconic performance.
I wasn't asked to do anything differently. I was invited to reprise my performance as Geralt, so I just brought my Geralt to the table.
Netflix's decision meant Doug was able to draw upon the same method and approach that created the unmistakably gravelly tones of his Geralt of Rivia. And so you'll still hear the same voice that you've known and loved for nearly 20 years.
Your Highness. Master.
I recorded Witcher 1 in 2005. So the memories I have of the actual recording are pretty dim. The thing I found most challenging about recording Witcher 1 was actually the voice itself, because when I first started recording Game Geralt, his voice was very, very far down in my register. It was something I had to push towards, and we were doing really long days. This was before guidance about how long a voice actor should be in the booth on a given day. So we were doing 8-9 hour days, and I was going back to my hotel just going, wow, my throat is ripped. That was a challenge, and it continued to be a challenge in Witcher 2, but I think about maybe a third of the way into Witcher 2, I started realizing that it was becoming easier, and it's like an athlete. The vocal cords, it's a muscle. I'm not comparing myself to athletes, but, like an athlete, and they train their muscles to do things that, perhaps they're not even really meant to do. So I feel like that's kind of what happened with my voice.
I need to figure out how I want to fight the Karen. Maybe I won't need the potion.
Doug's vocal cords adapting to better support Geralt's voice wasn't the only major change that happened during development of The Witcher 2, though.
I think one of the biggest influences on how I approached playing Geralt was actually the books, because the books started to come out in English while I was recording Witcher 2. Before that, it was the developers from Projekt Red who taught me everything I needed to know about Geralt, told me about the world, but I hadn't had an opportunity to experience it for myself yet. So as soon as The Last Wish came out in English, I was down at the bookstore buying it, and I tore through it. And I understood things about Geralt just from reading just that one book that I didn't understand at all before. The developers, kept saying, he's emotionless. And I was like, okay, I get it, but I'm an actor, I want to play with emotions. But I understood in the book better why they were pushing for as flat as possible of an emotional life form. I understood it better. So I think that had a big influence on my perception of Geralt and who he is and how he works, and perhaps the most important change as well. Me reading the books was basic research that any actor should do. I was just doing it late in the process, in a sense. But Sapkowski is such a wonderful writer. I quickly fell in love with his writing and with all the characters in the world of The Witcher that he created.
Of all Sapkowski's novels, Doug most fondly remembers Season of Storms. It's a story he'd love to be part of, should Netflix ever need a voice for Geralt again.
Basically, this mage creates these monsters that are killing charcoal makers and people like that in the woods. And Geralt is tasked with trying to figure out who's doing these killings. And it's just a great story. And it's got this great werewolf character in it. It's one of those stories that when I read it, I was like, oh, this is horrible. This is awful. And it's thrilling at the same time, It's like there's some really graphic fight scenes, that Sapkowski gives to us. And I think that would be a really fun story to turn into an anime or a TV episode.
Maybe we'll see that story in the future, but right now, Doug's Geralt can be seen and heard in Sirens of the Deep, Netflix's latest animated Witcher adventure.
It's a great story. It's a good story in the book as well. I mean, I've got the book here. I've got, it's in Sword of Destiny. If you're looking for it, it's called Little Sacrifice. I thought the anime version of that story turned out really, really really wonderful. And it walks the line between the darkness of the Witcher world, and I love little moments of lightness.
Doug notes a humorous conversation between Geralt and Jaskier, where both are sitting around a campfire after a long day, as a good example of that lightness. The scene demonstrates Geralt's softer side, which is often overlooked as an important part of the monster hunter's personality.
Aha! I knew it! I knew it! I could sense there was something between you two.
If by something you mean air and space.
Part of liking acting is liking all those different aspects of a character's personality and the different choices that could be made and how they might approach those choices. I enjoy the gravitas of Geralt when he's all serious and mopey and whatever, however you want to describe him. But I do also like those moments when he's trying to be light, when he's trying to crack a joke and just doesn't go very well for him most of the time.
While much of Doug's work on Sirens of the Deep simply required him to use a voice that's become second nature, the anime did pose a unique challenge, learning how to speak mermaid. Yes, for the first time in his career, Doug had to perform in a fictional language.
I think I'm good at languages and I'm okay with accents and stuff like that, but I found doing this really difficult. I got phonetic spellings of the words and things so I could before the recording so I could get familiar with it and hopefully be okay on the day. And then I got in front of the mic. It wasn't like performance anxiety or anything like that. It's just that it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Things should be much easier when Doug returns to the world of video games in The Witcher 4, which was revealed with an exciting trailer at the Game Awards last year. Returning to his original version of Geralt should be like putting on an old pair of favourite slippers. Even easier, actually, because he won't have to record anywhere near the amount of dialogue that he did for the previous 3 games.
We know that Witcher 4 is going to focus on Ciri, so whatever role Geralt has in the game, it won't be a main protagonist kind of thing. But beyond what we know from the trailer, I don't know anything.
While Doug only knows as much about The Witcher 4 as we do, he's still eager to see what developer CD Projekt Red has in store for the next chapter.
I'm really excited. I think it's a really good move. I always thought that continuing the saga but shifting to Ciri would be a really, really interesting move for all kinds of reasons, but mostly because of things that happen in the books, which I don't want to give away because people, I want people to go read them. So yeah, I think it's really exciting. I can't wait to see what they've done.
Time for a new saga. See you on the path.
To learn more about what CD Projekt Red is planning, take a look at our in-depth interview with the creators of The Witcher 4. To see more of Doug Cockle, be sure to watch The Witcher Sirens of the Deep on Netflix and find him on Instagram, Cameo and X. And for everything else, stick with IGN.